I'll record to this computer. Great. Hi, everybody. It's 5:58, so we technically have 2 minutes before we start, but we have some guests tonight, so I wanted to get the recording going first and make sure everything's all set. So we will start with the official introduction right at 6. We got 1 minute to go. Make sure my slides are all set. Okay, and we are going to have Jamie go first. Oh, it looks like there is a little bit of an AI joining, so we'll boot the AI out. We don't really need that. An alarm is going off. Okay, cool. Sorry about that, guys. It is 6 o'clock on April 17th, I guess already. And we are going to have our eighth meeting of the Lynn Tree Committee. We have some really awesome guests tonight, so I'm going to be watching the participants, letting people in, and we're just gonna just get started. Jamie, I'll also copy and paste your email in at the end so that people who join a little bit late, they can get that too, if that's okay with you. And I'm gonna go ahead and share my slides and make sure that I can still admit people while I do that. Hi, Shiloh. Hi, folks joining. Good to see you. What are we seeing? Are we seeing slides? Yeah, we look like we might be.
Yep,
And let me just make everybody big.
can can see them fine.
There was one time where I missed my waiting room and someone was in there for a really long time, so I'm just checking that. So, all right, let's kick it off. So this is our eighth meeting of the Lynn Tree Committee. I am going to post this right after the meeting. There's another event going on, but our local paper, the Daily Item, wants to cover this meeting, so we will have them have access to this. So I'm going to do a little extra and get this uploaded tonight. So thank you all for being here. There's some folks still joining. We're going to do a little bit of a brief update just for anyone who hasn't joined or hasn't watched the video before. Then we'll get right in with Jamie and then we'll hear from Fred. And then we will have some time for public discussion. So if you have questions, write them down, save them. We'll get to them. So for anyone who might not be familiar, Lynn Tree Committee is a group that's open to the public. It's not a seated commission or anything. So you're welcome to come share with others. There's a little bit of our history. Everything's posted on YouTube so you can catch up. And just letting folks know that our next meeting will be on May 15th. And after that, we will still have the ability for any member of the Lynn Tree Committee to kind of use the Zoom account and schedule meetings and continue this, but it will be kind of the same format that we've been doing. So um, without further ado, I would like to introduce Jamie King. I just recently met Jamie, but we had a really wonderful, meaningful conversation. I think it was last week, maybe, and I felt pretty inspired by hearing from Jamie. Um, Jamie, I'll let you introduce your titles and everything. I think you have a lot of them. I think you have a lot of things that you could say that I don't even know, so I don't want to fail at introducing you. So I will pass it over to you. Do you want me to make you a co-host if you have slides, or do you want me to just keep this screen up or stop sharing so people can see you bigger?
This screen's fine.
Great.
Yeah, thanks for having me, everybody. Thanks for being part of this tree committee. Thanks to Erica for her leadership and everything. So I am Jamie King. I work for American Forest, where I'm working as the director of coaching and consulting. It's a new position created last year to develop programs and engage with people just like you to share our resources and connect you with be it tools or people or coalitions or organizations that can help you advance tree equity, because that's our goal. Our flag that we bear right now, and it's a worthy one, that's tree equity across the entire nation. And Lynn came into that fold during the recent chaos. Um, that I probably don't need to dwell on, but it so happens that while we were launching these programs to support people, that support became more needed than ever before. As projects and programs that have been planned and are already rolled out, in many cases have been paused or canceled. Uh, it is our goal to help everybody who's been involved in that, be it impacted by the chaos or not, navigate this new landscape. So some of what Erica and I talked about is the fact that uh, the whole reason the IRA bill happened is because of great growth in this industry and recognition from our colleagues and from our constituents that trees and their benefits are essential and that communities have been underserved over time. And while the funds that were dedicated to that by the Biden administration in many cases are not in play anymore, well, all of the other momentum is still in. There are people who specialize in this work. There are people who are dedicated to it, like I am. There are systems in place to support you through that. And while resources may be scarce, that shouldn't stop us because much of what we do has little to no cost. Being connected with each other and working together and finding creative solutions to these systemic problems in communities should not stop simply because of what could be branded as fiscal warfare, but also psychological warfare. Um, while they while the funds have been removed and uncertainty is palpable all across the nation, uh, I've seen and witnessed people being frightened and traumatized by these circumstances. And I right now, my main mode is trying to keep everybody motivated, um, which is challenging. Trying really hard not to be toxically positive, um, because it's what everybody's feeling right now is real and important. But I think looking off into the distance and seeing, the real reason we do this work and staying motivated can help us work through it. So just framing that up, talking about what we do and saying, I'm here, we're here, American Forest is here, and indeed I'll be in your town next week for your Arbor Day. We'll be in Boston on Arbor Day, but then after we meet up with anybody else that can be available. It's a busy time of year. I'm sorry. It's just happenstance that I'll be in town, but I'm hopeful to see what's going on and start to understand how what American Forest does can what's going on in the communities. Um, some of the things that we do that don't require resources at this time are coalition building, like engaging with all of you and kind of tying initiatives together to connect the people, but also the efforts. And that leads us towards solutions that can keep advancing projects through creativity. Like if we can reduce the expense related to a project through partnership, then that may help us get through some of these times and get some trees in the ground and some trees in the shade while we kind of reassess the landscape that we're working in. Um, Other things are like one-on-one coaching, meeting with anybody who needs it to talk about what you're working on, seeing if there's a way that we can connect you with a solution. Um, and but then also all of the American Forest tools like the Tree Equity Score, the Community Engagement Guide, the Tree Equity Handbook, things like that. Not just providing you a link, but showing you how those things work. And in many of your cases, you're probably familiar with those processes. So it's just getting you acquainted with how they work so you can maybe share them with others and make your teams bigger. Um, I, I I think that's really all I have to say. I don't need 10 minutes. I'll stay on for a few minutes to take some questions if there are any. And if there's not, I'd love to stay for the rest of the meeting, but I actually just got home from Chicago and I want to go see my son. So I'm not blowing you off. It's just I wanted to make the meeting and accept the invitation, make some time for you. So if you have any questions, like, shoot, or otherwise, I'll put my email in the chat and Eric is going to put it in later. Whether I can help you.
Yes, thank you so much, Jamie. It means a lot to have spoken with you last week and also just to hear that message again and for you to come to this meeting and give us some of your time. That really means a lot to us. So thank you for being here. We'll let you get to your son. I'm pretty sure you guys can see what I've been doing over here, showing you guys American Forest website. They have this tool called the Tree Equity Score, the National Explorer. We don't have a local tree equity score analyzer. We don't really need one right now. We don't really have that as our first priority for what we need right now, but we do have this National Explorer, which again shows that we need more trees planted in the southern part of Lynn pretty badly. This tool is really useful. If you click on a spot, I'm like somewhere around here right now. Location wise, and it'll tell you the current canopy cover. You can go to this layers tab, and if you're really savvy with the tech, you can kind of look at specific things that you might care about. When we look at the tree canopy cover in Lynn, I just presented for Public Health Week, most of our census tracts. So these are census blocks that you're seeing on the screen right now, but most of our census tracts, which are the bigger groupings, so our neighborhoods have we only have one that really has more than 40% tree canopy cover. Most of our southern neighborhoods have 2% tree canopy cover. So to see a number in the single digits when our goal for neighborhoods is 30% tree canopy cover for public health and social well-being and economic development as well, that's we have a lot of work to do. So I really hope that we can continue and thank you for your support and for being here, Jamie. Does anyone have a question they'd like to ask Jamie or anything they'd like to say in response to what he said?
Jamie, this is Calvin here. Hi, welcome. Glad you're here. Go home, see your son. But you said you're going to be here for the 29th?
Hold on, let me check the calendar. 25th.
25th. Okay. All right.
So Jamie's going to be in Boston. We're going to try to meet up. We're going to be planting some trees at the Bennett Street School with the Roca Inc., so the Vulnerable Youth program where we're going to teach them how to plant some trees. I'm going to just really scrape together a couple trees. We got $1,000 grant from the New England chapter ISA. We got their Arbor Day grant. They give out one. So we will be able to buy a few trees and have those kids plant them. But our official Arbor Day celebration in Lynn, which I have a slide for later, is it's going to be on April 29th. Our mayor is going to give
That's cool.
proclamation. I was able to get 200 tree seedlings from the Mass Tree Wardens and Foresters Association to give away. So if you want free trees, we're going to have swamp white oaks and choke cherries, and we're going to have coloring books. So we have 200 trees and 200 coloring books to give out, and we're going to have a really, really, really good Arbor Day. So we'll see if we can get Jamie into the mix, or if I can go see him and what they're up to in Boston during that time.
Well, great. I'll see you next week. We're here for you every other day. Just reach out. Be in touch, okay?
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, Jamie. Have a good one. And now I'm gonna try to get back to my PowerPoint with my superpowers as a navigator of the airwaves. I guess I have urban forestry program updates next. Let me see if I got the order wrong, Fred. I did, but let's just power right through it. Most of y'all on this call already got this talk and know this, but some of what Jamie was talking about was that we did have a termination of funding at the order of $469,380.57. That very important 57 cents that we will unfortunately not be able to continue. There was a dispute filed by the Arbor Day Foundation. That was our pass-through granting partner, but there's no other news. We did put three different scopes of work for planting projects in front of a couple of organizations, and we didn't hear back on any of those in time to actually make those happen. My position is secured through the end of May, so we're going to just do as much as we can. And we're celebrating our 35th year as a Tree City USA and our first year of a growth award, which is really exciting. So come out on the 29th and we will all celebrate. We are also a good bit through this project, which is our state grant. It's about $124,000 to kind of make 80 tree pits a lot better than they are right now. We have 2.5 by 2.5 foot tree pits of compacted soil in Lynn. It's quite common. We have tree pits that are sealed over. Calvin, you're going to be really excited about this next slide, so I'm just going to go right to it. If you've been down in Central Square, we opened up the 6 tree pits that were asphalted over 4 years ago after the removal of some shade trees. And the DCR Greening the Gateway Cities program will be planting sweet gums and hackberries downtown next week. So, really proud of that. I hope that folks are happy to hear that. And I hope that you will occasionally think about going and filling up their water bags if they don't get watered this summer. If you notice the bags are empty, please write in to someone so that they get watered. But these will be our trees in the downtown. And if we can keep them nice and take care of them, they will replace and hopefully outdo what was even there before. So, very happy
That's
about that.
amazing. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I did
Oh,
notice
thank you,
that
Adam.
I went out today, I was walking the dog and I was like, and I saw the dirt and the tree pits have been opened. It was really amazing. So
Pretty cool, right?
it really
I'm
is.
still,
Yeah.
I,
You're muted, Calvin. We can't hear you. You gotta unmute, Calvin. We couldn't hear you.
there's a hair trigger on this thing. So I'd still like to be pressuring Procopio to give some money for the trees that they took out. Those are old growth, the Central Square area. We'll welcome the new trees, but there's no need for them to have taken down to begin with, especially since they've got a pit, that piece of land now that I understand is for sale. So they're not going to put their 10-story building there if they tore down historical buildings. And EDIC ignored us when we asked them about it. So I'm happy, but they're not off the hook. I'm going to hit them up for some money.
Thank you for the comments, Calvin. Yeah, appreciate your feedback.
Yeah.
We will be planting these new trees. Now, when these new trees go in, they do become public shade trees. Those are protected by Chapter 87 in the Mass General Laws, and the enforcement is done by our tree warden. So, linwoodsranger at AOL.com. If these trees they're going to be small at first, and that's what we want. We want them to kind of sleep, creep, leap. We want them to establish into the soil. They've got nice big tree pits, but we need them to be protected. We can't be doing stuff like hitting them with plows this winter coming up. I know we're not thinking about winter right now, but we really need to protect these trees, and they are protected by that state law. So if you notice anything, get in contact with our tree warden after these trees get planted. And Adam, I saw you unmuted. Go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say that you know, you're talking about watering. I mean, I'm in the neighborhood. I'm certainly happy to help with that. So thank you.
Amazing. I'm about to press send on an order for about 82-gallon watering cans that we're going to have a really nice City of Lynn urban forestry sticker on. Just found that out all today. So if you need a watering can that holds 2 gallons, which is slightly easier to carry than some of the other options we were considering, come to, I don't know if I'll have them for the Arbor Day celebration. I'm really trying. So we'll see.
Erica, it's Fred. I have a question. Are you going to have signs about keeping the dogs away from the trees?
We don't have any capacity to do something like that, Fred. Sorry. We would think about it if we were continuing with our program. There's a lot of dogs down there. It did come up with that's a good point, actually. There are downtown beautification is a project that's happening. My colleagues in the planning department have been working really hard on that community development as well. And what I hear, which I don't know if it's fully been announced yet, but there's going to be many opportunities to come together as a community throughout the month of May to clean up the downtown. So I don't know where they are at with advertising those events yet, but in terms of keeping the mulch nice and keeping the pits kind of well maintained. We just want to make sure that at any of those events, people aren't like walking in the tree pits as much. So actually, rather than a fence, I mean, rather than a sign, I would like a fence around these. But again, we don't have the resources to do that. So just if you are a part of the neighborhood and you are walking by these trees, we don't want to see stuff like people pushing the mulch up against the trunk because they think it needs more. We don't want to see people trampling and the mulch get lost. The mulch is probably going to get lost on these trees because it's such a big tree pit in such a wide brick sidewalk. So they may need remulching kind of as the summer goes on and we see what we have for a drought. But really watering is going to be very, very helpful for these and just trying to get people to stay off of the trees a little bit. So just not compacting that soil after we just remediated that.
What I've found successful in the past is we find somebody to adopt a tree that's near them, keep an eye on it, watch it, water it, and providing a vessel to water it with is a good idea, especially with the indicia on it. It makes you feel official. But that way they have sense of ownership with it, and it's literal turf that we're taking care of. So I'd be happy to do any outreach with that once those trees go in.
Awesome,
Knock,
Calvin.
knock,
Thank you
knock.
so
Hi,
much.
you're a barber shop. You're here all day. Come on, you got water. Throw some water in every Friday, something like that.
Yeah, and it'll be great to get these trees at 20 gallons a week. So the watering bag
Mhm.
shouldn't be full all the time. We don't want to overwater
Mhm.
them. But if the watering bag has been empty for 2 weeks, that's a good time to fill that watering bag up. Now, the watering bags hold 20 gallons. So with your 2 gallon watering can, we need like 10 people to go and do it, or one person 10 times, get those real strong biceps going. So yeah, so we don't want to overwater them. We don't want to underwater them. It does depend on kind of the drought. If we're in a drought, it can do 40 gallons in a week. But we'll be set up. We'll make sure there's gator bags on these trees so that they're easier to water. The gator bags also protect the trunk to an extent from the pet waste from people walking into them. It does make the trees slightly more visible. And we did do some tree tags on our last set that we planted. We can't do those this time, but Calvin, thank you so much. I really would appreciate that if you kind of can continue the work of an adopt a tree model. That'll be helpful for some of our baby trees. Even some of the ones we planted last season, that could be good for. All right, so should we get to our star of the show, Fred?
Well, I'd rather you set the bar low rather than high. Anyway, well, I'm Fred Shinanya, and go ahead and put up the first slide. So I'll just wait for that. So I'm going to talk. I don't have the next slide's got a lot of text on it, but it's more just a guide. It's like a list of things, and you'll see it. But I just wanted to introduce a little bit where we are, which is quite different than where you are. You're a much more urban town, although you have all that wooded area in the northwest. But you can see on the map, we're located next to Newburyport, and our the character of our town is semi-rural. So we have very few sidewalks and we have virtually no commercial development. We have one little crossroads in there, a few buildings there, and that's about it, and no industrial development. So in some ways, what I'm going to tell you about our experience in West Newbury may not apply directly to what you're saying, but I'm going to throw a bunch of ideas out at you to and explain how we came to be a tree committee and what our charge is and what we do. So maybe there'll be something there that will stimulate something that you can do, but in a somewhat different way, given your environment. Um, we have a lot of riverfront, and so you've got waterfront too. We where our total acreage in town, well, it's 14.5 square miles, about 9,300 acres. So I'm not sure what the Lynn acreage is, but I think we're somewhat similar in our size. Our canopy, however, is about 60% trees. So immediately there, you get a difference in your town versus our town. Now, I know that you sort of have a bifurcated situation with your tree canopy. We do have, and not very well mapped, certainly no inventory has been done, and even the mapping just geographically is not terrific in terms of the amount of acreage, the location of that acreage in terms of forest. But my guesstimate is we have over 1,000, it should say acres, not areas, in forests that are protected either because they're owned by the town or they're conservation easements or some other kind of protection. So we do have about a tenth of our town is in woods. We have also a fair amount in wetlands. So that just gives you a little bit of a snapshot of our town, which is a bit different than yours. However, in 2019, it was just me. I got the select board to agree to appoint a tree committee, and maybe there was one, decades and decades ago, but there hasn't been one for a long time. And in part, there wasn't a driving need in terms of, we have sidewalks and we have trees and they're dying. But there were many reasons why I thought that education and other things could really benefit our town. So if you go to the next slide, you can see sort of how we got started. We don't have a tree ordinance. So you're absolutely not regulatory. That would have been a dead end for us to get started. Um, and all it took, and so I don't know what your process is a vote of the select board. Now, I will tell you that we do have a planning board. It's got one permanent employee, and the rest are volunteers. They're elected, but they're volunteers. We have about a 6 or 7 person Department of Public Works. So, it's quite different than what you might have. So here you can see our mission statement, which was to, and look at the verbs there, assist in the identification and protection, provide education to the town and residents on measures that'll help protect our trees, and generally provide other information. The second bullet was the hook that we had. My pitch to the select board was, well, in town here, we probably have a lot of really significant trees or remarkable trees, whether they're historical or cultural or size-wise, and we need to have a roster of those. And the hidden agenda there was to try to see if we could identify trees that would make it hard for developers when they come in and want to develop some open land to cut down those trees. We actually, turns out we have 3 state champions in our town, that we've identified and that we've had the state come out and it's on the state list. And we have a fourth tree that's a legacy tree. So it's about the 10th or 14th largest American elm in the state, at least as the list is now comprised. So you can see that a non-regulatory, we had a hook to get us started, and you're past there, but our role is to assist and educate. And that can be reporting to the town board. It can be working with individual homeowners. It can be working with the Department of Public Works. We sort of have freedom to figure out what we think is important. And so now if you go to the next slide, I wanted to just run through some of the things that we do that you might find, oh, I never thought we could do that. Or yeah, you do it up there, but we could do something like it down here. These are, and we have a long list of accomplishments, but I wanted to sort of show you the kinds of things that we do that I'm sure you do some of them. Obviously, annual Arbor Day celebration, and we give away seedlings. Now, we get our seedlings from the New Hampshire State Forest, State Nursery, because they're usually much more robust than anything that we've found otherwise available, including getting donations from tree companies. These have tremendous root development, and we put them in peat pots and we give them away. So they look nice. They've got little wooden sticks in it to identify the tree. And the point is we can tell the landowners, you can put this right in the ground if you want. And it's sort of all set for them to make it easy. The problem that we had when we did it a different way was, giving away bare rooted trees that really don't have much seedlings that don't have much root development is, I think the survivability percentage was really low, and that's sort of disappointing. So we give away less, but we make sure that it's in prime condition for someone to put it in the ground in their property. As I said, we have the roster of significant remarkable trees that's online, and we have a website that is got just gobs of information. I should tell you a little bit about my background. Um, I'm a scientist. I'm an ecologist. I've worked for EPA. I've taught high school science. And when I retired up here in 2012, as things unfolded, I was doing more marine science work, but we live in a forest here. So I became more used to going out in the forest and going to the shore, although we're 15 minutes from Plum Island. And then at some point along the way, in maybe 2020, 2021, I became a certified arborist, a certified arborist. So the reason why I'm saying that is I'm permit me I'm not trying to boast. I'm just trying to give you an indication of the composition of the committee. I'm like a professional scientist arborist. Um, the rest of the committee are really citizen participants who may have an interest in helping out and in doing tree work, but I have the expertise to maintain this website. So we have a lot of things from, oh, thank you. We have a lot of things from, if you just look down the thing on the left, we have a tremendous amount of information on the website, everything from, you know, tree identification. You can see if you stop right there, I'm going to talk about the tree sightings fall winter slideshow, which is up at the top. I'll talk about that in a minute. We have sort of, oops. Oh, I didn't want to go there. It's okay. Go back. But then we have like current news. What's wrong with my rhododendrons? That came up this at a few of the conferences I was at last month, which is where I met Erica. And then we have our Arbor Day celebration and so on. So if you go back so feel free to visit this. You just go to wnewbury.org and then pull down the menus and you go to committees and go to tree committee and you'll get to that website. And I have just scads of information on that, tailored to the homeowners and the residents in town, everybody in town. We don't really have apartment buildings. We have single family dwellings. And because we don't have a sewage system, everybody has a septic so that people tend to have larger plots of land, 2 acres kind of thing. Um, so they have lots of trees. So do visit our website if you want to see a lot of the things in detail. You can feel free to borrow and steal anything that's there. You're welcome to it. Um, so just to go down the list, we do participate like you guys do in Tree City and Growth Awards. The tree sighting photo program came up last year because we're always trying to stimulate interest in the homeowners about trees. They have lots of trees usually on their property usually, and in some ways it's different than yours, but it's the same. They value their trees. You may have fewer of them, but the value is high. And the question is, how do you stimulate people to get interested in trees, to do the things that might care for trees or that might increase your canopy? So we decided to it's just an electronic thing where we say submit your fancy tree sightings photos to us, and then we have we load them on the website 4 times a year, and we put out an email to everybody in the town saying, hey, visit this show, and you can see, sorry, in the background, there's it's one of the scenes in town. So it's another way of touching people on a tree related matter, which we always try to do. Um, and then you saw like that first bullet on the tree committee page that said, what's wrong with my rhododendrons? If you go down a little bit right there. And, there's more information there about its winter kill, don't prune quite yet. Wait till you make sure that the branches are really dead, and then go ahead and prune. Rather than thinking that you need to call an arborist or whatever. Um, if you don't mind going back, uh, sorry to keep toggling back and forth. Um, we 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 do go to if a homeowner calls up and says, "Hey, I think I have a sick tree." Um, we go out and we visit them and we chat. And I tell them, look, I'm a certified arborist, but I, I'm not a practitioner in terms of I don't go out. We don't do tree servicing. Um, but why not give them an informal consultation, give them some ideas, especially if they have a tree that's near the house, let's just say an ash tree that's dying, and we can talk about, well, do you want to take it down? Is there a hazard? The things that an arborist would be thinking about advising them. And then if they want to call a professional, a practitioner, that's fine. What else have we done? On our park, we lead tree identification walks. We set up a tree trail through one of our parks with signs that we put on the trees with some information about the trees, some historical and cultural information. We collaborate with the tree warden, as I'm sure you guys do. And then, of course, we work with some of the town officials. We have a select board and a town manager. So I think you might, as a city, I think you have a different setup with the city council. So we have fewer political people to satisfy.
Fred, can I jump in for a second and just
Yeah,
explain
sure.
a little bit? So in the city of Lynn, we have a tree warden. It's Dan Small. He's our Lynn Park Ranger, but that's his full time, and the tree wardenship is a part-time position here. So I mentioned that email that you can reach out to. Um, and I would love to know more a little bit about what your collaboration with your tree warden looks like. We have a city council here in Lynn. They're wonderful folks. We have 7 wards. We have ward counselors. We have at-large counselors. I think it's 11. Calvin, am I right? Is it 11 people? Uh, I can't hear you because you're muted, but it's something like that. So there are quite a few of them. And then we have our mayor. So our mayor Nicholson, he will be at our Arbor Day event. But I would love to hear just a little bit more about who your tree warden is, how that is set up in West Newbury, if you have a second to cover that.
Sure. And I'm happy to, if anybody else has any other questions, just interrupt. I don't
Oh,
know.
I just took some notes thank you for this. This has been very good. When you said that West Newbury doesn't have any tree laws on the books, wouldn't then the Commonwealth statutes just kind of kick in or be the one that you
Yeah,
just went
yeah,
to?
That's exactly
right.
what we have here too as well.
Right.
Right.
Everything,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
Other towns have, tree ordinances that set up a tree commission. You got to get their approval if you want to cut down a tree and so on. We don't have any of a town ordinance. Whatever the state law is, that's what the tree warden implements. And our relationship with the tree warden is informal. I'll just call him up, or he'll call me up and say, "Hey, this came to light. Do you want to visit a spot with me or not?" But it is useful because one thing I didn't, or the next line there is, we probably have thousands of ash trees in town, literally thousands. And we have, so what to do with the emerald ash borer attack?
Mhm.
I wrote up a long paper, presented it to the select board about options to deal with, let them all fall down, inject them, so on. And it turned out that the town was nice enough to provide funds to first to survey only the ash trees on public roadways, because that's what everybody sees, right? We couldn't do all the other 1,000 acres in forests or on private property. But so we had a survey done by Bartlett tree experts. 477 trees were located on our roads, and not counting the state highway 113 that goes through the middle of town. That's our main street. And of those, about 170 were deemed healthy enough to inject. So we actually got money from the town to do um, trunk injections of emamectin, if you care, for those 177 trees. 89 survived. And then of those 89, we had a second round of injections, and there's about 50 left that survived out of 407. And the total cost, I have the numbers somewhere, but the total cost of the surveys and the injections and everything was about $60,000. So we have spent some money trying to protect our trees, at least along the public roadways. And the reason, and now we're in a removal program where we've probably spent 100 to $150,000 on removing all the dead ash trees on the roadways because all our utility lines are above ground. So, if the tree falls, it's going to knock out the electricity, it's going to fall on the road, et cetera, et cetera. So the town has been nice enough to try to devote some money to protecting against the emerald ash borer. Of course, now notice the bottom thing, beech leaf disease. Well, we've got thousands and thousands of beech trees in our forests, and it's hard to know what we're going to do with those. And we just that's as yet to be determined. Um, we sort of, I think, want to wait a little bit before we ask the town for more money because I think that the outlook is going to be that our trees are going to be stressed and we're going to have these repeated episodes of diebacks. And I think we have to be judicious about asking the town to protect an awful lot of trees. I think the beech trees are not so much, there are not as many beech trees along our public roadways as there were ash trees. Beech trees tend to be, at least at the beginning, understory kind of trees in the forests, and they're not as obvious a dieback um, as the ash trees were, which are it's really a visual blight in our town that everybody was pretty upset about. We have acres and acres of trees you can see from the road that are just all dead. Anyway, that's just a snapshot. You can see we're going to be working with the Open Space Committee on surveys, and I came up with the idea of trying to start a comprehensive town management plan for forests, but there's a lot of other stuff going on, including some comprehensive planning efforts. So the time is not right to do that. So this is just a snapshot of the kinds of things that we've done to fulfill our mission, with the goal of trying to have people appreciate the trees that they have and to protect them as we go forward and to provide expert advice to them free of charge, and just in the hopes that they will then be willing to spend some money on their own trees, which of course the town won't do. So that's it. That's what I wanted to sort of show you what we did as a homegrown effort, if you will, starting from zero with no legislative or support other than what the state law is, and then you know we just keep plugging along. That's for sure.
Well, thank you so much, Fred. I would say star of the show accomplished. In my opinion, that was great. Just what we need to hear is some inspiration from someone who obviously became like in an arborist and went as far as to be able to do that all on volunteer time. So I don't think I've even been to West Newbury, but I'm certainly going to go now after meeting you wearing the same hat at that conference. And I really just wanted to it's not really a comment, it's more of like I want to express gratitude to you for as a resident who cares about this, as an ecologist, someone who kind of generally cares about this industry, engaging with the Mass Tree Wardens, engaging with the Arbor Expo, engaging with people who are professionally committed to this as their daily work, because that's a little bit more rare for me to see in a tree committee. Sometimes it's set up in a little bit more of an adversarial way of like arborist versus resident. And I think that your method works beautifully and inspires me. So thank you for everything that you've done, including coming and talking to us tonight.
Well, and I did want to say that. Um, the American forest fellow who came on, that's a sort of a high level of, political interaction. And that's got its own advantages and disadvantages. And obviously now the disadvantages are tending to bubble up. This may be something that you could do without looking for funding, without looking for grants. It's true that we don't have a lot of money for tree planting, but we've got thousands and thousands and thousands of trees in town. So that's never been our focus. Our focus has been more on the education and the and awareness part for all the residents that have so many trees. And that's something I think that you can do as a homegrown effort, not and don't need, the national organizations to help you out with.
I'm
Good
a tree
points.
roots sort of guy.
I think the youth
So,
could do it. So I think the youth have really responded well to me at Lynn English. Lynn Classical has invited me to come speak with them on May 1st. So my main goal right now is to encourage those youth to watch this recording. If you are a youth watching this recording, because I came in May and told you to come watch this, thank you for watching this. And you can do this as a student, as maybe you're someone's grandfather, grandmother. Maybe you're somebody who doesn't even have any family around. You can be part of this. It's just as easy as taking a photo of a tree and sending it to someone on the tree committee or sending it to the email list. Go ahead, Calvin. Sorry to cut you off.
well, I'm familiar with West Newbury because I lived in Newburyport in the 70s, and I used to commute that way and across that cool bridge to go to my community colleges, Northern Essex, right across the
Oh,
river.
there you go.
That's in Merrimack, so I know that area pretty well. So you piqued my interest in the beech leaf disease. Is that something that has migrated north with climate change? And what has it left behind? Can we learn from what it used to be the beach norm in like the mid-Atlantic states if they were indigenous there? I
Well,
mean,
it's
if you look
it's
at it, maybe it's nothing we should bother with, just head it off and plant new species or whatever, and understand that it's an evolution thing, and let's just stay ahead of the curve.
well, it's a very different animal, literally, than what you've seen before. Um, 4 or 5 years ago, it didn't exist, and somehow I forget the exact method that it came to our shores, but it is a nematode,
Mm,
a tree nematode, unknown in North America. Um, and it lives in the buds. It overwinters in the buds of the beech leaves, and yeah, you can see the banding there. That's the symptom
mhm,
of it, and uh, so it for 3 or 4 years there wasn't even any management that you could do by way of trying to kill the nematodes. Just this year there is some information on injecting trees and on foliar sprays to try to kill these nematodes. But they go, I mean, there is not a beech tree, and I'll bet you we have 25,000 to 50,000 beech trees in West Newbury. And I can guarantee you we have a 90% infection rate. And so
mhm,
it kills the leaf that comes out in the spring. And sometimes what we're waiting to see is whether the tree will have a secondary reliefing
mhm.
later on. But of course, that's a big stressor for the tree.
Right.
So in terms of its energy requirements and its nutrient requirements. So the question is, how weak is the tree? Because we already have beech bark disease, but it's not as apparently deadly as this particular disease is.
Mm.
But yeah, you can see it's not one of these things that's migrating north with climate change kind of thing. It's just an infestation of an invasive
Mm.
nematode. Um,
Got to
and
find a natural predator.
well, apparently I believe I recall it's in Japan. I don't think it's in Europe. In Japan, they have beech trees, and there is some kind of biological control that has co-evolved with the
Mm.
nematode, but we don't have that here because we never had it.
Go
So
get some.
our beach trees are don't have any defense mechanisms to help themselves out. Um, so that's the next scourge that's that's coming along, and
Last,
I
last,
don't want to get too into scaring people,
okay,
but
sorry.
we should be sort of lucky. Oh, not that you were. I was about to. Because you can see this Southern Ontario area. In Ontario, they don't prune, like this region of Ontario, they don't prune any oaks all through the growing season because they have a nasty oak. It's basically a root graft. It can spread through root grafts.
hmm.
They have an oak disease that we really don't want to get here. So the point being like plant pathology and things like that, there are scientists who are right on this, and that's what gets presented at these conferences, like the one I met Fred at, is we have Matt Borden, we have Beth Brantley. They come as presenters and they basically keep industry folks, so arborists who are certified arborists or who are attendees of industry events, in the know about what the options on the front lines of these treatments are. Matt Borden gave a fantastic presentation about treatments for beech leaf disease, timings of applications of certain things. Those are treatments you don't want to do at home by yourself. The timing is really critical, and it's to understanding the life cycle of the nematode. I think what I've seen and heard a lot from residents in Lynn are things like, "Oh, there was ants coming out, so I've been spraying Roundup on the tree to keep the ants out from eating the tree." So we do need that education piece that Fred's talking about. And it's not just for one disease or another, it's really for forest health, which is why I admire Fred's points about forest management plans. Now we have the Lynn Woods. So to answer some of your comparisons with how we compare, we are 13 and a half square miles and we're coastal, not riverfront. So it's a little bit different in terms of our climate change and stormwater realities. We also do have sewers. We have quite a bit of a hairy challenge with our sewer system, and Lynn Water and Sewer works on that. They also work on the Lynn Woods. So we do kind of have this really unique kind of similarity to West Newbury specifically, of all places, where we're more urban and we have a much higher population, much different social demographics, but our tree program, like in our tree committee, is less advanced, I would say, than what Fred's got going on. So if we want to talk about diseases, that will actually have to be after we address some other really serious problems we have in Lynn. We had a street tree survey done for our worst of the worst. We went and looked out for not fancy trees, which I loved that idea. We went and looked out for really hazardous trees to the public way, and we have found 205 of those. So regardless of species, we have some work to do in Lynn before we even kind of address injections or having anyone on staff with the capacity to implement that or being able to contract that out.
Yeah, the only thing I would say is that if somewhere in town, like in the town square or a town park, there's a great big beech tree that people really like, that might be a candidate for some immediate protection to stop it from getting infected with the beech leaf disease. Otherwise, yeah, it's a matter of priorities, obviously. Um,
Is
and
this
that's pretty much what my advice is to people here is if in your on your property you have a prize beech tree, there is now a treatment that I can recommend for you to take. But that's going to cost a couple $100. And if you have 50 beech trees on your property, well, you're not going to do that. Anyway, so I'm just looking at the time. I apologize because
Don't
uh,
don't
we
apologize. This is
we
wonderful.
have a tree committee meeting that starts at 7 o'clock with my group. But if there's so I have a couple minutes left. If there are any other questions, I'm happy to answer them or comments or whatever. But I'm really glad that Eric invited me, and if we can be of any help, my email's in the chat. Give me an email the tree committee, whatever you want to do it would be great.
has this
Anyway,
is this beech leaf blight made it to New Hampshire yet? Has it been
oh,
found there?
I'm not sure if it hasn't, it will. Let's see. Oh, yeah, looks like along the seacoast.
Oh, okay.
Yep. All right. Well, thanks very much. I appreciate it. And, good luck. And Erica, I wish you all the best. And thank you for inviting me.
Thank you so much, Fred. Have a good meeting with your tree committee.
All right. Take care, everybody.
All right. Well, that was pretty awesome. So we've got public discussion. Normally, I fill this out while we're talking. This was our discussions from our last meeting. We talked a lot about sidewalks and, Chris, thank you for being here again. We had some plans to try to really pull off a spring planting. We are going to be planting a bunch of trees at that 100 Bennett Street location, and the DCR Greening the Gateway Cities program has started planting as of this week in Lynn. So there will still be trees planted. I'm seeing Steve Hirsch, thanks for being here, saying in the chat, Pine Grove Cemetery has lost some beech, but there are still some remaining. There's also a beech tree in the Lynn Woods that has banding on its leaves as of last year. So we do have beech leaf disease in Lynn. I've also conversed with a private landowner who has a very significant European beech that they are treating. So there are a couple in Lynn. It's worth looking for the banding this year and just sending a picture in if you see that. But so talking about the Arbor Day plans, Chris and I have not gone to get trees for that, and we actually ran into a bunch of issues with accepting donations. The next city council meeting for Lynn is on Earth Day, April 22nd. So that's a Tuesday. So that's only 3 days before Arbor Day. For a municipal official, that's not enough time to do the procurement process or to actually have the city council accept a known value of a donation. So when we're planting our planting seasons, my recommendation is always to lock in your plan and order your trees at the latest, like 3 months in advance. So I just want that on the record for everyone that it becomes very difficult for us to do things at the last minute. And these trees that we're planting have often been grown in a nursery for something like 5, 10 years. So we really want to be respecting the life cycle of the tree, the life cycle of the municipal employee, and try to plan much farther ahead. There was nothing we couldn't have known that this funding change was going to happen in advance. And so, I really appreciate all the efforts and the expressions that people want to give, but the way that our government is set up, it's very difficult to accept donated goods, and that's for a reason. That is to make sure that nothing sketchy is going on. So we have rules for a reason, but sometimes it can be hard to accept donations. Our next meeting, we will have this meeting, and I will be making slides for this meeting and hosting this. On Thursday, May 15th. I didn't get to do all the stuff to put the meeting up yet, but I will right after this meeting. And I just wanted to thank people. We do have 4 minutes, so I know there wasn't tons of public discussion because our guest had so much to offer. But I did want to just share that I was able to bring like all my own personal climbing arborist gear to Lynn English. There are kids who are working on trees in Lynn. There is a kid who came up to me who showed me a video of him doing a spike tree removal. He's an intern. He does tree service work for the summer. Unfortunately, that student was not wearing a helmet. So PPE for people who are doing tree work, like this is something that happens in our city. And this is why the education can really make a difference, is that I made sure I said, if you need to wear your helmet. If you wear your helmet, you can have this carabiner. I gave him one of my purple carabiners. Hopefully that will help him remember every time he's doing tree work that he did meet me in school on that day and that he should wear his helmet. So there are reasons why this is valuable beyond what we're talking about, beyond tree canopy. It really is some people's livelihoods, and we want to keep those kids happy and safe while they're doing their work to support their families. So this is a great event to go to, and I'll be at Lynn Classical on May 1st talking to their environmental group, and I'm going to try to convince them to kind of run the tree committee if they want to. If everyone's okay with that, of course. Any feedback is welcome.
Yeah. Well, I just want to go on record saying I want to continue this after you, kind of the same format. But I got a question. This might be the time to talk about starting a Friends of the Tree committee or something, because they could be the third party that accepts these gifts. And then it can go into the pipeline of the, affordable. I know the city council has to officially accept gifts, and it takes a
And
while.
Calvin, the
So
Friends of Lynn's Urban Forest, the acronym would be FLUFF. So you might run into some copyright in interesting things there, but you could
we'll
have a
use a
partnership with
small,
FLUFF.
we'll use lowercase f or something. I don't know. Boy, you're quick.
I've thought about it a million times.
Urban renewal, arboreal renewal committee, friends of. We'll think of something. Anyway, I just say that's how friends groups usually do things because they can't accept money. Like I'm involved with a few friends groups, and we're the money making agent that can bestow gifts that can be accepted, but it sort of takes care of it becomes an adjunct to budgets and things like that. So anyway, I'll look into that.
Thank you, Calvin. Anybody else have anything to share?
Yeah.
We could hear you. Now you're muted.
Well, me?
Yeah. Hi, Susan. How are you?
This was a great information and inspiring. I did want to just share that last night I saw on PBS The American Forest, which was fascinating. Did anybody else see it? It's,
I
it's
saw it
making,
listing.
I still
pardon?
don't have a
I
TV.
saw it listed. I'm going to be trying to catch it, but it's. I thought, hey, that's good, kismet. It's on my radar suddenly. Now it's coming my way. All these things.
But it really is very timely and reminds me of what we're learning and what continues to be learned about the amazing um, underground process that goes on with the forest and the importance of the diversity that when trees are planted, it's important to know what else should go with it or where they were really good about pointing all that out. So I recommend it. I know it's on. It was on last night. It was on at 6 o'clock on the second PBS channel. But if you surf it, you may find where and when it'll be on. Usually those things get repeated.
Love to hear that. Thanks, Susan. Yeah, I was really excited to learn that the planning department is working on Essex Street, a big portion of Essex Street. There will be opportunities to plant new trees as we discussed it this week. So if you have places to look there, we saw one area that could be expanded to a pocket park, essentially. Very similar, actually, to Chris Rose's on the call, very similar in size to his mini forest that he did. So if you haven't seen that, look that up on City of Malden. They did a pocket forest, and we have a kind of a space coming up that's about that size on Essex Street.
What part of Essex Street is all this happening on?
Oh,
From Joyce
good.
Street to all the way to past Essex Street. Really,
The
it's
whole
been in
shebang?
about 2 years in planning, and now it's at the point. It's being done in the next year and a half or so. But
I was going to say,
the
good
healing
question
for
for
the
Calvin. I
Oh,
knew you would know.
I broke this story on my TV program 2.5 years ago. I had Aaron on with Richie Benevento from the DOT, and Eric, I want to walk the whole strip with you. We'll get Richie over because I've been trying to get him to walk with me for 2 years because I have some good ideas about, especially the Ingalls School, and there's some old growth trees right there at the intersection by the beauty salons, and those are some trees that I want to make sure stay there. They can work around those. And with you writing the rules, you're
Well,
right. We'll enforce them after
it
you leave.
won't be me writing them, Calvin. It won't be me writing the
No,
rules. But thank you for your efforts. Keep it up.
yeah. I want to. I'm going to get a city councilors to consider adopting, or whoever the body would be, to adopt the state as best practices, plus add some of our own. That when we get into the permeability issue, every time a new building goes up, let's have the sidewalks be permeable. around it
We
to see if
did
the
talk
water's still
about
moving.
we did talk about tree preservation and pulling sidewalk panels and pouring flexi-pave.
Yeah.
That was a big reason why we were on the walk, and that point was made for all of those trees that were not presenting a hazard to the public way.
Mm. Cool.
Anybody else have any questions? It is 7:03, so if you have to go, I totally understand. Thank you for still being here. I'm sticking around. So if anyone has questions or comments.
I have one specific question for you. 2 summers ago at our campground, on all the pine trees, it looked like caviar, like in clusters of black things that were moving. What was that? It scared the heck
I
out
would not be able to know, Calvin. And I also
of me.
I only work on public shade trees in the city of Lynn currently. So maybe if we're hanging out this summer and I come look at the trees, I could say something different. But to diagnose a plant health care issue, you really need to have the arborist on site seeing the tree and the site conditions that the tree is in.
Here, I didn't know if it looked like caviar. So if you ever seen caviar and pines, what's going on?
A good question. Anybody who hasn't gotten to ask anything yet have anything to add? I see Shiloh in the chat said, my native understory plants are already looking good. Wild strawberry and running groundsel. So strawberry will take over your entire yard, everything. It will just go off. My strawberry are back. My raspberry bushes are back, leafing out right now. And if you have things that you see that are leafing out, it's always good to take a little picture and then you have kind of that date in your phone because it's attached to the picture. So I was taking pictures of some little blossoms right outside City Hall. And I did hear of a little project that may be going on. So get your cameras out, take pictures of cherry blossoms. And there is someone else in the city of Lynn who's working on a little bit of a cherry blossom photo contest that might happen this spring. Don't have any links or info for that, but you guys kind of get the info ahead of the info. So if you see a cherry blossom, take a really good picture of it, and you may be able to enter it and win something. All right, I'm not hearing any more questions, but if anybody has anything to say, speak now or we'll forever close this meeting.
I actually had a question. I was letting everyone else speak. So do you have a tree for Arbor Day yet?
I have multiple trees. None of them have been purchased by the city of Lynn. We are working to accept that $1,000 grant, which will be, our comptroller will be presenting that for acceptance on April 22nd. So on April 24th, my plan right now is to physically go to Native Plant Trust in Framingham, and pick out one tree or several trees for the students of Roca to plant on the 25th. So I will be buying trees once again the day before planting, which I really do not love to do. Um, we do have DCR Green the Gateway Cities program did set aside 5 of their trees for planting at 100 Bennett Street. I believe they did buy a flowering magnolia, which was a request from the Lynn Public Schools for this certain special location. So I think they might have a tree for that spot. I do not have confirmation of that, and I had been really trying to get like the city of Lynn to be buying that tree to show that we like really wanted to have one tree that we did purchase and plant in Arbor Day 2025. So I will have an opportunity on April 24th to go purchase some number of trees. And if there were to be a donation, I would be able to write that onto the agenda for that April 22nd meeting, but I would need to know the value and I would need to be able to have that receipt to give that to the New England ISA. It's just the issue is that I got the grant, but I can't like go buy the tree and like front that money because the political system, like we need the city of Lynn
No,
to
I
accept
I
that.
get that. When is your Arbor Day event though? What day?
April 29th, which is the Tuesday following.
Okay.
And that is the day that the DCR would be planting those 5 trees that they've reserved, which I believe might be more hackberries and one other species, I think. So the trees that I'm going to be getting from Native Plant Trust are going to be for a specific area. They're not going to be like large canopy trees. Thank you so much, Heather. Thank you for being here and listening. But yeah, so the short answer is yes, I have some trees. I actually don't know exactly what I have and don't have at this point. And I would need anything that I was going to get to be approved by the Lynn City Council on April 22nd.
Hmm.
It can already be purchased, but I need the receipt to actually like get that value included in that request.
Yeah, I'm just looking at my calendar here. So are you going in front of the city council?
I'm going to be at that meeting, yeah. I don't think I'll be asked to speak, but I need to have provided this information before that meeting. I can't kind of like spring it on them, you know.
Mm-hmm. All right, we'll talk later then. If I have to, I'll attend the city council meeting because I have trees, so
Thank you, Chris.
you're welcome.
Just make sure there's a hard copy of paper with values on it. And
There's no value. I found them. I found them on the side of the road.
All right. Well, I think that kind of wraps up our meeting. Thank you all for staying extra and for listening to our guests and for being here. Susan, it looks like you have someone there who might have a question about trees. Very
Love to be
cute.
out there. He's definitely a runner and but he's stays inside.
That's good for the birds. Well, he's wonderful. All right. Thank you everyone so much. Hopefully I'll see you again on May 15th or before then at our Arbor Day celebration on the 29th. You can come get free trees. You can get a coloring book. Even if you're an adult, you can have a coloring book. We will allow it. And we'll have some stickers. Hopefully we'll have some watering cans and we're gonna have a really good April. So watch out for those trees blooming and I'll see you around the city.
Call me later, Erica and Calvin. I'd be willing to bet that was pine sawfly you saw on your trees.
what pine? What?
Sawfly.
Hmm. It sure freaked out some people.
No guarantee. That's my guess.
I don't know, but it was a real sticky pine. I remember. Anyway, good. I'll look it up. I'll see what's happening with the New Hampshire Forestry Department.
All
Thank
right. Have
y'all.
a
Have
good
a
night.
wonderful
Okay,
evening. Bye bye.
one tree at a time.